As usual, we have another young Indian with us, Voice of the Young segment. Hello, everyone. Good to be back. Today, right now, we have Alan Samuel with us. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Alan.
Good morning, sir. So, yeah, I'm very glad to take part in this initiative that's brought up by you. It's a great pleasure to express my opinion as well and share it with several viewers. So, with regards to me, I'm actually just a recent undergraduate from the Symbiosis School of Economics, and I graduated in economics, of course. And currently, I'm working in Bangalore in a market research firm. And with regards to just a brief introduction as to how I got into the economics domain, I actually got into a sort of unconventional way. I started actually my 11th and 12th in the science stream with economics as an elective. And at that time, I thought that I would pursue the sciences as well for my further studies and even career. But once I went ahead with it, I found out that actually economics was something that is more in line with what I found interesting and was passionate about. And also, when I came to the 11th grade, especially, I decided that this is clearly what I want to go ahead with. So I'd actually checked various colleges as well in the country as well, which I wanted to pursue my bachelor's as well during this time period.
So which city were you in?
I came up with a bunch of...
Alan, which city were you in?
I actually am an NRI. I spent my entire school and upbringing in UAE. And then I came to Bangalore currently.
Yeah.
But my bachelor's, I did it with which is based in Pune, Symbiosis School of Economics.
Okay, so you had a choice of
so I had,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I've been around a lot of places, to be honest, and I like that as well, to explore various places and talk with different people, get exposed to different opinions as well. So it's been a nice journey. And with regards to how I came into economics, I had mentioned, but I'd like to give some context as to how my time I spent with economics and Symbiosis School of Economics particularly was. So it was a very great journey. And I'd like to particularly state that the Symbiosis School of Economics puts a great emphasis on research. They have very clearly set out this plan that in the first year, we will be focusing on primary research, then secondary research, and they'll be concluding the degree with a dissertation. That is mandatory. So I think this is a very well-structured plan. And for me, this is very beneficial because that's what I've actually found something that I want to even pursue even after I'm done with my bachelor's. And it's also given me some sort of initiative as well as passion to write research papers of my own and present them as well in conferences, which I'll be detailing on later. So this is a brief introduction to myself.
Okay. Continue, please. And don't forget to tell us what your schooling was like in UAE. But before that, let's continue.
Yeah, okay. So I'll just give a brief overview of my schooling in UAE. So I spent my entire childhood, as I mentioned, in UAE. And when I was in UAE, I was part of the school debate team and athletic.
We are back from the internet glitch. Alan was talking about his schooling in UAE. So let's hear from him.
Yeah, so just a brief introduction as to how my schooling in UAE was and how I eventually got into the economics domain as well. So when I was in my school in UAE, I spent my entire schooling was in one particular school, that was in the Auruk High School in UAE. And I spent 10 good years in which I eventually found out that actually I liked science, and I decided in my 11th and 12th that I was going to pursue science. And I chose the science stream, but actually I chose it with economics as an elective. So it was the conventional physics, chemistry, maths, and then it was economics and English. So this was my subjects. And during my 11th and 12th, I did find science interesting, but actually to my surprise, I found that economics, it was something that I had not been exposed to in first grade to 11th to 10th grade to that much degree. So when it became an explicit subject, I found out that that is something that I was more interested in actually. So when I came to the 11th grade, for example, I made a firm decision that I do not want to go ahead with the sciences for my undergraduate. And then I started seriously considering economics. Also, with regards to non-academic experiences at my school, that's where my love and passion for long distance running actually started. Like I got an athlete there. So I spent my time period from the 9th to the 12th grade representing my school in distance running. And that's something I continue even today. And also, they also brought a passion for me for debating as well. I've even continued that in my time with Symbiosis School of Economics. And I believe that when you're exposed to debate, you also obviously will have to talk about the economic implications of various opinions as well. So that's my experience with my school in Arun. That is the school in UAE, which I studied. And then let me just tell how I got into Symbiosis School of Economics. So again, I'd actually decided that I'd prefer Christ over all the colleges. And this was my first preference. I applied to Christ, St. Xavier's, Symbiosis School of Economics. And by some, maybe you could call it misfortune, I did not get Christ. But now looking back on it, I actually think that if I had not got where I am, that is at Symbiosis, I wouldn't be here today. So fate has its ways, let's say.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so when I spend my time in Symbiosis, I'd like to say that they give a very thorough emphasis on research. And we even had a subject, research methodology, in our third semester. And that was a complete exposure to how to write a research paper, how to investigate qualitative research, quantitative research, in which they taught it very thoroughly. And for me, actually, because I'm still interested in research and I like writing research papers as well, exploring various domains, I think that this exposure I had from college was very, very great. So also with regards to Symbiosis School of Economics, one more thing I'd like to point out is that I took part in the debate team in the debate club for around 1.5 years for my first 3 semesters before things became extremely busy. So the club we had was called DepSoc over there. So I took part, and that was also during the time period when COVID is going on. So everything was online, including debating tournaments as well.
Yeah.
So, but that's actually one point where I'd like to say that COVID, it became a blessing in some way, because if it was offline, we would have to consider travel costs. We'd have to go to the colleges physically. So when we were sitting in our laptops, we could access any tournament throughout the entire country. So that was an advantage to a degree.
Yeah.
So that's my experience with regards to debating as well. And that also exposed me to many like-minded folk in my college as well, and gave a good exposure, because when I came physically to the college, I already had many friends before I even met them physically.
Yeah.
So that was a good experience.
Okay. And you didn't decide to go for higher studies and all. So how did you make that decision?
Yeah, so that's also one important thing to point out. So when I was in my 5th and 6th semesters, I was considering whether I should go for a job, whether I should sit for placements and get a job, or off campus, or whether I should go for masters. And at the end, let's say around the 5th semester, many of my friends were all applying for masters abroad, sitting for their IELTS, GRE. Many had appeared for many campus placements. Some had got recruited. I was still very confused, to be honest. I was thinking that I can't make a very clear decision. And I decided that let me see if I can go ahead and get a job experience before I go for my master's. I just thought it'd be good for me to have exposure to the industry for at least a year before I apply for my master's. And also it would give me some time to think and ponder over where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. Because when we are extremely busy with coursework and projects, dissertation, as I mentioned, it's very hectic to prepare for entrance as well. So actually, right now, I just finished my graduation in May. So since then, I've been working with a market research firm. And along with that, I'm also preparing for entrances for further studies next year. So that is my plan for future studies. And it's going good so far.
No, but how did you get the job that you got?
Yes. So when I finished my bachelor's, immediately in June, a month afterwards, I sat for 2 interviews for 2 companies. One was through placement. I got that, but the offer was a little bit underwhelming, to be honest. I decided that it's not something that I would find that much, I would not get that much learning from it. Maybe it would be of benefit to someone else, but it is not that much aligned with what I wanted. So I took the option to drop it. And then I appeared for one interview that is here only in Bangalore, and that is a physical interview. So I went to the office itself and I had an interview. I cleared all the rounds, and it was a market research firm. And that's where I'm currently working right now. In the beginning, it was very hectic, actually. With Bangalore traffic, I had to report to the office daily. It is very, very hectic. But now, actually, I've got it to work from home for 3 days, and office for 2 days. So it's a hybrid mode. So things are much better now, to be honest.
Okay. And how's life in Bangalore?
Yeah, life in Bangalore is good. And also one more thing I'd like to say, because I came to Bangalore, I actually attended a conference at Asim Premji University. So that's based in Bangalore. So in August, just 2 months back, I saw that there was this conference and they're inviting papers on the topic of origins or on the origins of history or specifically history of economic thought.
Yeah.
So it is something I had not thought of that much during my college days because it was very busy and also we are exposed to international trade. But history of economic thought was a subject, but I had not gone into depth in research in that. So I just took a particular economist, and that is the theme of the entire event. We have to choose a particular economist or a social thinker, not have to be particularly an economist, and then talk about their contribution to economic thought. So I chosen Safa, Piero Sraffa, the Italian economist, and me and my batchmate from Symbiosis itself, Padma Priya. We had both researched for a good period in which I had my job entrance preparation as well as this research. So it was very intensive there. But yeah, it all went well, and I presented my paper at Azim Premji University, and that was a great experience. Like to any viewers who are watching this, I'd like to say that yeah, it's good to be in clubs and societies. It's good to take part in quizzes and competitions, but also expose yourself to things like conferences where you'll network with several people who are professionals, some who are maybe where you want to be, some who are maybe pursuing the degree that you want to do. It'll give you a different perspective that you won't get from your college experiences.
Yeah, it's absolutely true that today you don't have to be restricted to your college. You can go. By the way, reading Srafa is no joke.
Yeah, that's very true. I actually found Srafa as just one among many, and I was like, okay, Italian. We have not studied any Italians in college. Let me pick this guy, and I chose him because in college and in conventional economic thought, we're exposed to British, American economists, to some degree, even Indian economists. But Italian, I'd never heard of any before. So I just picked him up and I found him very interesting and went ahead with it. And yeah, Srafa was very, very difficult to understand. So but with regards to Srafa, the hard part is the mathematical rigor of his models.
Yes.
And because our paper was on the history of economic thought, it was not that difficult, to be honest, let's say.
Well, by the way, you do know Pareto. Pareto is Italian.
Yeah,
so you didn't think about it, but Pareto is Italian, and I believe the Gini coefficient, Gini is also Italian.
Yes, Gini.
So actually, you are exposed to Italians in Gini and Pareto. You just don't think about them as Italian, but they are Italian. And Sraffa, of course, very hard to read, and certainly not many people would think of him as history of economic thought. He's more in theory. But anyway, I'm glad you did it and you presented it. I don't know how many people understood what you were saying. Because Rafa is hard.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, okay. And what else do you have to tell us?
Also, I'd like to highlight one more experience I had actually. This is back to my college days in Symbiosis School of Economics. So one very good experience I had was with the Confederation of Indian Industry. I did an internship with them. This was part of my corporate internship for my college. And I actually took my time to get an internship. Like I took around 2 months to get an internship, and then I finally got one with CII, Confederation of Indian Industry. So many of my batchmates, they just found an internship and they finished it off for academic requirement merely. But I thought that no, I want to make the best of this. I want to pick a good internship and spend some solid time. So I got an internship with CII, and what I particularly did was I had to make a research paper at the end, and I dedicated 3 months to that. So I was working under the international trade division, and I'd just like to give a brief overview of what the paper studied. So I studied with regards to India and 10 other Asian countries. And I found out what are the areas of comparative advantage India has. And I used the RCAI index, the Revealed Comparative Advantage Index. And I studied a particular chapter, that is the machinery chapter, 83 under harmonized system. Yeah. So I had good exposure to databases as well during this, because this is something which I had to use World Trade Organization data, as well. I also had to use ITC. I learned a lot of Excel skills also during this. So it was a all around great experience, to be honest.
Okay. All right. And anything else you want to add, or you some advice for young people, or anything else? Your future. Let's need to hear from you.
Yeah, so I'll mention both of that. And let's just start with some advice to economists themselves, any other students who are listening to this. So I'd like to say that it's good. It's good to study. It's good to get good grades. And I believe that's not something that you can put aside. You should focus on it. But also consider various options, explore things. Like if you are interested in a certain thing, don't confine yourself to that. Like, for example, I'm saying that I'm interested in research, but I did not confine myself to a particular thing. Like I said, I did with CII, that is international trade. Then I did in history of economic thought. Currently, I'm actually working on a contribution towards Gokhale Institute's editorial, that is in ethics domain, I could say. So expose yourself to a lot of domains and get knowledge from various sides. Don't confine yourself to a particular thing. It's good to be a specialist, but you should have views of all the various domains. Then only you can give a more well-rounded view, I'd say. And also with regards to what I mentioned before, networking is very important. This is something I learned when I finished graduation, actually. Like I had not got a LinkedIn profile. I did not have much action on it. But once I graduated, I found out how important it was. I connected with many individuals. I found out that LinkedIn is a great platform for many people. I think all students should be on LinkedIn, to be honest. It makes a huge difference. And not just from a perspective of getting a job, like connecting with people, chatting with individuals, joining LinkedIn audio events. And there's a ton of wisdom on LinkedIn, to be honest. Like some of the posts, they are exaggerations and there are some people's success stories, but there's some real good content creators who can add some value if you go through their posts as well. Okay. So that's also one thing I'd like to say. And with regards to my future, as I'd mentioned, I'm currently preparing for masters as well, for entrance appearing for the next year. So I'm seeing about various options. I'm keeping all my doors open. I'm keeping foreign universities as well as India. I believe that's also one more thing. Don't keep all your eggs in one basket, as they say.
Okay.
You should consider all options.
Okay.
Because you need a safety net as well. So that's there. So I'm currently preparing for entrance of not any particular institution. I'm actually doing it with an institution called Artha Point. So they're preparing for almost all major entrances in India. So that is something that I'll be planning to go ahead. And based on how that turns out, I'm hoping to get into a good institution. But I'm also considering various options abroad, like Sciences Co, LSE, and let's see how it works out. That's honestly.
Let's see how it works out. Okay. That's very helpful. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I think this concludes all I had.
Okay, great. So maybe we'll come back to you in a year to see where you got admitted and hopefully how your work experience in Bangalore was, what it means to be in industry as opposed to academics, and maybe we'll have some pointers from you. But let's end it here at this point. I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. Till then, let's say bye to everybody. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.